What connection do Zoran Mamdani, the holy Alshich, and Rabbi Shimon Kolyakov have in making an appearance in the same Parsha podcast? We shall soon find out, my friends. But we must start where all things begin, which is at the beginning. And that's with an overview of the Parsha that we are going to discuss this week. It's Parshas Toldos. Yitzchak and Rivka, after years of childlessness and infertility, they have twins, Mazel Tov, Esav and Yaakov. Hashem reveals that the younger Yaakov will surpass the elder Esav. Esav is a hunter, a ruddy fellow who sells his birthright to Yaakov, a great Torah scholar, for a bowl of red soup. Years later, Rivka helps Yaakov usurp the brachos meant for Esav from father Yitzchak. And when the maneuver is discovered, Esav becomes enraged, furious at his twin. And Yaakov, to escape the wrath of his brother, flees to Haran to find a wife and to find a place to live where his life is not in danger. These two legendary twins, Yaakov and Esav, their story really begins with one cryptic word, Vayisrotzitzu. The rest of the pasuk reads, Vayisrotzitzu habana bekirba. The children struggled in her womb. This is the very beginning of this entire Parsha's narrative, where Rivka feels funny sensations going on in her womb. Weird things are happening. Strange things are happening. Vayisrotzitzu, a funny word. Rashi sees the word and quotes a Midrash, al korchach, against our will. Hamikra hazeh oimer darsheni. We are forced to ask and look deeper, to scour the depths of this word, to understand what the Torah means to convey here, with the children inside trying to hustle to get out. Vayisrotzitzu habana bekirba. These two central characters, since their very beginning, Vayisrotzitzu, they're trying to get out of Rivka's womb. They couldn't be more different. Yaakov and Esav literally only share one thing in common, and it's their last name. And I don't even think they had a last name. Because in the shadow of their father's tent, these two brothers, one is fundamentally opposed. Cosmic fault lines have been split in the course of their destiny as Esav emerged first, a creature of the wild, his skin ruddy, entirely covered in hair, raw, a primal force who lived by blade and bloodthirsty hunger, driven by the immediate visceral pleasure of the present moment. He was a warrior, stained by dust and blood, trying to claim dominion on top of the physical earth. But Yaakov, his brother, the younger twin, who I will add a short sidebar, younger twins always rule. Go team younger twin. I'm the younger twin of another boy. He is the older twin. I call him Esav when I feel I need to put him in his place. But there's the younger twin whose name is Yaakov. Quieter. Well, I don't know if he's quieter, but he's contemplative. He's a man who's straightforward. His strength lay not in his muscles, but in his persistent pursuit of truth. He is the voice of holiness. He is seeking the eternal promise, patiently weaving the threads of the future. As they start to act in their younger years, change can be seen from the start. One is growing up and becoming successful, studying hard, passing exams. The other, hanging out on street corners late at night. The birthright. Esav was entitled to a birthright which had many pros: double portion of inheritance, continuation of the bris of Avram, but he willingly and carelessly and pathetically sold it for a simple meal because of his hatred of the divine, more interested in self-gratification and immediate gratification. The blessings Yaakov got with the help of his mother. And he became the primary patriarch when he received the blessings instead of Esav. These twins couldn't be more different. One of them became a father of a great nation, an ancestor to bad people, to the Edomites. Esav, the father of Edom, Al-Kain, Kara Shemo, Edom, who is historically a cruel and antagonistic force toward the Israelites. Yaakov had his name changed because of his good decision-making, even wrestled with the divine being of Esav. And Yaakov eventually, after winning that battle, became the father of 12 tribes of Eretz Yisrael, of Bnei Yisrael, and his children carry on the Abrahamic and Moshaic destiny. In essence, the story of Yaakov and Esav is a narrative about choosing ruchnius or choosing gashmius, spiritual potential over physical prowess, immediate gratification versus the patient and thought out and satisfying aromas and payment plans of Judaism. Their essences, these two different twins, it really can be boiled down to one pasuk that says everything. As their father compares and contrasts them, seems like he's doing it really in passing. When Yitzchak asks his son Esav to go and bring him some food so that he can bless him before he passes on, Yaakov, with the help of his mother, puts on the furry armed costume to help him masquerade from his father so that he can usurp the blessings. But Yitzchak notices that Esav is back really fast. Spoiler alert, it isn't Esav. It's Yaakov stepping in. Yitzchak's confused by the voice that he hears that sounds like Yaakov, but the hands which he felt, which were covered in goat skins to simulate Esav's hairiness, it felt like Esav, and Yitzchak utters the words that shake the world. Vayigash Yaakov el Yitzchak aviv. And Yaakov approaches. A lot of words in the Torah for approaching, but vayigash is a famous word for approaching that always connotes and denotes approaching with intention and approaching with something new and exciting, like vayigash elav Yehuda, when Yehuda steps forward to talk in front of Yosef. But vayimusheu, the pasuk continues, and Yitzchak felt him. Vayomer, and Yitzchak says, Hakol kol Yaakov v'hayodayim yedei Esav. The voice is the voice of Yaakov, yet the hands are the hands of Esav. He's uttering kind of what he's wondering about who is this character in front of him. Yitzchak is blind. Angels cried when he was on the table, on the Mizbeach, during the Akedah, which made him blind, or some of Esav's poor habits and his hanging out with lowlives. It kind of led towards burning incense and smoking cigars and bad aromas in the house that actually ended up blinding his father, according to one opinion. But either way, Yitzchak voices this discrepancy, this disparity. This is the voice of Yaakov, but it's the hands of Esav. Eventually, Yitzchak says, confirmed. He understands that this is Yaakov. He's fooled by Yaakov's move, with Yaakov's wisdom, and eventually gives the brachos to Yaakov. The Beis Halevi wants to know, how come Yitzchak trusted the sound of a voice? Why was that more of a giveaway than the hairy arms? Why did this trick work? Why didn't Yitzchak think, oh, this is the hands, but maybe something's wrong with his voice today. Maybe he has a sore throat. Or maybe he's talking differently because he's turned over a new leaf. Or maybe he just has a weird tenor or pitch today because of some, I don't know, he woke up on the wrong side. But either way, that's not today's conversation. What is today's conversation is to pull this apart and understand that Yaakov, his voice was recognizable. And Esav's arms, his hands, they were recognizable. What is the Kolyakov? What is the voice of Jacob? Rashi says it isn't just how he spoke, the tenor or the pitch of his voice, but Shemedamber b'lashon tachanunim kumna aval Esav kinturia daber yokum avi. It's the way that they talked was different. Yaakov says, Father, arise, I pray thee. Please get up. Let me help you. He talks nice. But Esav says, get up, Dad. He speaks in a harsh strain. That's what defines Yaakov with the Kolyakov. But the Dasikanim says that's not what Kolyakov is necessarily defined as. The Dasikanim, the famous Torah commentary compiled by the writings of the great Bali Tosfos, the French and German Tosfos of the 12th and 13th century, Hakol Kol Yaakov Hayadayim Yedei Esav, says the Bali Tosfos, Omar B'Midrash, Hayadayim LeEsav, the hands are to Esav. Not that they are the hands of Esav, but the Yadayim are Yedei Esav, Hayadayim LeEsav She'ein by Koyach Ela B'Yadayim. He can only hurt us with his hands. Esav, the father of the Gentile nations, the father of our antagonists, the dark side of the moon, the evil side. They don't have a way of hurting us. Ela b'yadayim. They can only use their hands to hurt. Lahazik. Mikarov. And they can only hurt us up close in battle because they can only use their hands. Avol hakol liYaakov. What does it mean? The voice is to Jacob? Batfila. In prayer. Mechala kol amarin va'afilu me'rachok. It is efficacious even from long distances. Long-range missiles from the esophagus of a Jew is what prayer is. Hakol kol Yaakov is a reference to the voice of Yaakov is the prayer. That's what kol Yaakov means. Midrash Rabbah 65:20 elaborates on this concept. Hakol kol Yaakov ein Yaakov sholod elu bekolo. We only win with our voice. Hakol kol Yaakov ayadayim yedei Esav ein Esav sholod elu biyadayim davar achar hakol kol Yaakov. Omer Barachi b'shosh Yaakov markin bekolo yedei Esav sholtos. Every time that the Jews are engaged in their voice, Omar lechu v'chizra bata kinesias v'bata midrasha shalahem bilamar rasha. He's looking for a way to go and attack them. The Midrash says, and he asks his people, if you want to know if you're going to win, go and see if they're engaging in their voices. Go and see if the children are learning Torah and if they're davening out loud. You can't fight them. You can't beat the Jewish people if they're properly using their koil, because I kol Yaakov, and that trumps the Yedei Esav, and Yedei Esav is a failure if the Jews properly follow their voice and use and make the most of prayer. The timeless difference between Yaakov and Esav. Physicalness versus ruchnius, which here we see is that our way forward, if you're part of the Kolyakov team, is prayer. The voice of Jacob is the power of prayer. Spiritual pursuits. The hands of Esav represent power, military might, physical force, worldly actions, and what we see here is a reiteration of one of the most fundamental aspects of Judaism that stands in the very center of the world. It's the eye of the hurricane. If the wind's swirling around it, are all of Judaism the very middle of it? It's davar she'oimeh beruma shel olam, is prayer. Prayer, my friends, is the clarion call of the Jewish people, and the Kolyakov is the way that you're going to solve your problems. Prayer, Kolyakov, is the voice of victory in the face of fear. It is prayer that's there. Whether it's long-range attacks or short-range missiles, Kolyakov is what Hashem gave and what Yitzchak defined to be the remedy, the cure for the Jewish struggle, for anything that comes your way. You call out to God. I'm not involved in politics, but people do talk politics. I have enough politics in my life in other places. Even somebody taking my seat at shul is enough politics for me. But people are afraid of a man named Zoran Kwame Mamdani, an American politician who was the mayor-elect of New York City, a member of the Democratic Party and the Democratic Socialists of America. He served as the member of the New York State Assembly for the 36th district since 2021, representing the Queens neighborhood of Astoria. And people are afraid of him because as he's becoming more and more powerful, he's very pro-Palestinian, very anti-Jew, very anti a lot of happy and just Jewish concepts. He wants to run a large city in America in a way that makes life very tough and very frightening for the Orthodox Torah Jew. Maybe we'll even say that he is Yadayim Yedei Esav. He's something that we fear and something that's close and something that could hurt us. But we have here an answer, a way to sidestep and totally find peace and not care about Zoran Mamdani. And anything he wants to do, if you use your voice because you have Kolyakov, then we don't worry about the Hayodayim Yedei Esav, is what the Das Dekanim of the Balei Tosfos said. You don't need to worry and stay awake at night, tossing and turning about what's going to be with the future of the Jewish people on the East Coast and in New York City, because Kolyakov, if you pray, you have nothing to be concerned about. Our answer is, was, and always will be Kolyakov calling out to Hashem in prayer. If you need help to remember this, in times of struggle, in times of uncertainty and doubt, just recall one of the likely names you've heard before. Recall the name Rabbi Shimon or Rabbi Reuben Kolyakov, the co-founders of TorahAnytime.com, a large online Torah library of videos and podcasts and shiurim in Jewish history. Check it out. It's a great website to learn Torah. But those individuals who founded it, their name was Rabbi Kolyakov. Not sure if they're brothers or twins. That would be cool if they were twins. But Rabbi Kolyakov, remember that name because hear that last name. Now I can't get it out of my head. Their name is Kolyakov. Their name is Hayodayim Yedei Esav. No, Hakol Kolyakov is their name. Kolyakov. Remember that. When you feel unsure or in pain or you need something, remember the only way is to Torah anytime your way is to Rabbi Kolyakov. It is to remember Hakol Kolyakov. What does that mean? Pray. Go back. Pray again. That's the answer. Am I not praying well enough? Let me give more energy and more thought, more concentration to my prayer. Let me wash before prayer. Let me daven with 10 men. Let me dress properly for prayer, and let me give my heart to Hashem in prayer. It's not just a free-for-all. The Kol Yaakov has many facets. Prayer is our topic today, and there are many different words and types of prayer. The spiritual world is real. You know that. The same way there are highways that go in different directions, and the Kabbalah represents the code that runs the spiritual world. We don't care very much about the code at this point in our lives. We care more about the hardware and what we're actually feeling on the keyboard. not as much about the coding inside the computer. But it's not a big wash. It's not a big buffet. The Kolyakov Dvarim Rabbah says you can pray with tefillah, you can pray with sha'ava, you can take a different highway and use a tzaka. You can sometimes pray with a ne'aka, a rina, a pegia, a bitzor, a kriya, a nipol, a bilul, a tachanunim. Different types of Kolyakov. Hashem created for us to use at different times. One should be aware of these different times to use different coals. They're your weapons. They're your armor. They're your shields. Rabbi Shimshon David Pincus wrote his magnum opus on the topic, Sha'arim B'Tfilah, all explaining the different forms and modes of prayer. Different Kolyakovs to employ at different times based on the scenario. And I'd like to get down and dirty and get even more clear and granular here. There are different times also that govern different styles of prayer of Kolyakov. Shachris is different than Mincha. In the spiritual world, there's an entire office building of Mariv that's different from the office building of Mincha. Shachris is all about tefillah, not about asking, but recognizing, about self-understanding and discerning, and essential meaning of self-judgment. And Rav Hirsch talks about it's the process of infusing your mind and heart and waking in the morning and understanding that you can advance Hashem's will. So you start with a Psukei de Zimra and remind yourself of Hashem's glory, and you ask for some things and you go. There's a whole plan and there's an organized way about how to go about Shachris. Ma'ariv is totally different. The Kol Yaakov at nighttime is much more of a Midas Hadin, is much more of a gratitude of the day, is much more of a knowledge of the spiritual danger of the uncertainty of the initial stages of night and the body losing its soul going back up to heaven. We daven the function to uplift and refine the body to be more attuned to the spirit so that we can enjoy the quiet time of night. It's an entirely different office building in Ruchnius than Shachris. But Mincha is where I want to say a chiddush that I heard last week to try to give you something to take away in your prayer specifically. We're going to talk about the Kolyakov of Mincha. Mincha is a very hard time to focus, I have discovered. When you are in the middle of cold calling people about why they should list their house with you, and then the mincha, the ashrei, begins in the conference room, you need to throw your hat and jacket on and run over, but the head is still galloping at 1,000,000 miles an hour thinking about anything but Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avosenu. We don't have a Psukei de Zimra at mincha as a run-up to help us focus. We don't have Birchas Kriya Shema before the Shemona Esrei during mincha to help us come to ourselves and focus properly. We don't seem ready to jump into this intimate and immediate conversation with Hashem. At times you can daven in at home. Sometimes you're stuck davening at a wedding, at a baseball game during the 7th inning stretch, at your home office, wherever you are, in the office. But remember this. When Yitzchak installed Mincha, last week when he went out to pray, the word was Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basoda. Yitzchak went out lasuach basoda. Rashi, my apologies, the Gemara in Brachos, Chavav. Yitzchak tikein tfilas mincha. Shenemar vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basoda lifnos era ve'ein sicha ela tfila. When he went out to be sicha in the field, that means that he went out to daven mincha and install mincha forever in the Jewish person's daily schedule. But it's interesting that the word here for mincha is sicha. The mincha prayer is supposed to be not a tefillah or a bizur, or amida, or pegia, but a sicha. And the Alshich, commenting on this word sicha in 1021, I heard this from Rabbi Lazevnik, the chief rabbi of Presidential Estates Community. He pointed out that the Alshich on the pasuk tefillah la'ani kiyato v'lifnei Hashem yishpoich sichi. This is a prayer of the pauper. Somebody should What does he do? Somebody who's brokenhearted, he should wrap himself. Ya'atov v'lefnei Hashem, and in front of God, yishpoich sichi, pour out his words, says the Alshich, the holy 16th century superstar sage, the author of the Torah's Moshe. Yishpoich sichi k'moishe shoifech mayim lo roikon akli, lo sheyishar lo hispailos ki b'shvicha sichoi bilvad yanuach lo. All of the struggles of your heart, speak them out to God. Lifnei Hashem yishpoich sichi. What does that mean? Yishpoich means to pour. Sichi, your words, it connotes a pouring out of your struggles. What's bothering you? Tell someone about it. Daiga belev ish yastichenu. Shlomo HaMelech in Proverbs and Mishlei says, if you have struggles in life, tell someone, voice them. That's Mishlei Yud Beis Chaf Hey. Here you're supposed to voice your problems to God during Mincha. Our Messiah is that in the middle of the day when your heart is racing and there's a lot of things going on and Mincha is hard to focus on, take all that you are struggling with and tell God it. Tell God, I'm having trouble focusing right now. I'm trying to pray, but Hashem, why is this guy not calling me back? Why is the copy machine keep jamming? Why won't my Talmidim listen to me? Why does my leg keep cramping? Why is there no coffee left in the coffee dispenser? Why doesn't anybody refill the cups when they're done with it? Why do people leave empty tissue boxes around? Tell Hashem what's bothering you. Yishpoch sichi. You're supposed to stop in the middle of your day and say, Tata, Tata. This is what's going on in my life. You don't need a run up to be able to do that. Mincha, you jump right in, you daven, and tell God, everyone is looking for somebody to listen to them. And someone who listens to you helps you to conceptualize and make concrete what's bothering you, and it makes it feel much smaller. Pour out your heart to the one who listens, the only one who always listens. He listens wholeheartedly, entirely, focusedly. Tell God, pour your heart out to him about what's going on in your day. Yasichenu. Do sicha. That's how you do mincha. I asked Reb Simcha Bunim Cohen, the great Rav of Lakewood, the halachic expert par excellence. I asked him, when does a person pour his heart out during mincha? He said, you could talk to Hashem always. You should talk to him while you're walking in the streets. I said, Rebbe, I want to know about mincha for the upcoming podcast, when people should actually stop and say, Hashem, this is happening, and this is happening, and this and the other thing. He said, after Yehilu Ratzonim Refi, but before Elokai Nitzar, at the end of your Shemona Esrei. You try to focus on all the blessings, and everything that's happening in the day can be part of your thoughts while you're praying for it. During Shema Kolenu, you can put in, hear my voice, that please fix the copy machine. You can't utter it during Shemona Esrei. You can think it to Hashem. Hashem knows your thoughts also. You can think to Hashem during Rifa'enu that please heal my stubbed toe. But at the end of davening, after Yehilu Ratzon, before Elokai Nitzar, you stop there and you say, Dad, this is what's happening. I'm sorry I'm so scatterbrained. I'm trying. But can you please make the deal go through? You don't even need to daven for the sake of getting answered, but we're talking about healing and tolerating. And that is done by speaking out problems, and you should speak them out to God. You should use your sicha in this one unique way of the many aspects of the Kolyakov that we have. We are to unify our hearts in prayer. That's our power. Since the very beginning of the Vayitzrotzitzu Abanim B'Kirba, when there became two nations, two totally diametrically opposed paths, one of physicality and one of ruchnius, Yitzchak defined them when they walked in to receive the blessings as one wins with his voice and one wins with his hands. One lives and breathes prayer. One's cure is prayer. And the other, he can only win with physicality. If there's anything that you fear, if there's any Esav in your life, it's prayer. It's the Kolyakov that will solve it. L'fnei Hashem yishbach sicha, pour out your heart during Mincha. Let us work on our prayer. And of course, we haven't even touched on the aspect of prayer of Masechta Brachos, Davav Amud Beis, where Eliyahu was answered only because of his Tfilas Mincha, and the unique way that Mincha helps you to receive from Hashem what you want. But that's not our point today. Our point today is that when you come clean to God, you tell him about what's going on in your life, he listens. God always listens. Always. He may be the only one that actually fully listens. So give Mincha a try. Give Mincha a try with energy. And know that no matter what comes up, what politician, what weapons, what pain, which disease, which destruction comes up in your life, no matter which Yodayim Yedei Esav it is, we always have the same answer and the same cure. And it's our prayer, it's our voice, it's Hakol Kol Yaakov.
Kilam